Seymour Hersh, I wanted to go back to Paul Meadlo. If you could talk about what happened on March 16, 1968, between Lieutenant Calley, the other soldiers, and particularly Meadlo, as you describe so poignantly in the piece, standing at that ditch. Meadlo was actually playing with the children he would then gun down?
He and another soldier from Texas had been asked by Calley. They had no idea what Calley's intent was. Paul Meadlo was a kid, you know, he had been married young. He was from New Goshen, Indiana, from a farm family. His father worked in the mines on the border with Illinois, and they were very close to the border in New Goshen near Terre Haute. He was a farm kid into the Army, trained to be a killer. His brother told me when I was doing interviews for this piece, I talked to his brother Larry, who lives near him, and said Paul he couldn't skin an animal after shooting him when hunting. He didn't like the sight of blood. The last person that should have been drafted, but he was drafted and he went. And that morning, Calley ordered Meadlo and others to collect a group of women and children. They had 40 or 50, perhaps more, some old men, mostly women and kids. And Paul and the other guys, Calley said to watch them. And so they did what kids, American guys will do. They passed out candy. They were horsing around with the kids, playing with the kids. They told the people where to sit. And Calley came back and said, you know, in effect, what are you doing? He said, I told you to take care of him. He said, well, I am. He said, no, I want him killed. And then Meadlo began following orders. He began crying. This is something I did not know until I revisited some of the investigations. I went and reread everything that the Army had done. I just had not read it all before. And I found other witnesses who testified at Army hearings after my stories came out. There was a big investigation by a general named Pierce. And there was another soldier, a New York kid. Naturally, a New York street kid wasn't going to shoot, but he watched what happened. He testified about Meadlo beginning to cry. He didn't want to do it. And Calley ordered him to. And he began to shoot and shoot. And they fired I don't know how many clips. He told me at one point 5 or 6. He testified later about 1, but he told me 4, maybe 5 clips. A clip in that rifle, an M1, has 17 bullets into it, into the ditch. And there was a horrible moment that really got me. At some point when they were done shooting, some mother had protected a baby underneath her body in the bottom of the ditch, and the GIs heard, as somebody said to me, a keening, a crying, whimpering noise. And a little 2- or 3-year-old boy crawled his way out full of other people's blood from the ditch. It's hard for me to talk about this. And ran across it's now been plowed over, but it was a rice ditch. It's now been paved over at the site. And I saw it all. I'd seen it in my mind, and I saw it visually. That day I was there. And the kid was running away, and Calley went after it. Calley, big tough guy with his rifle, and grabbed him, dragged him back into the ditch and shot him. And that stuck in people's minds. That's how I got to Calley. It was a repressed memory, what happened at that ditch. And as I was doing my interviews early in the story, I'd written 2 stories for Dispatch. And the press, I will tell you, the American press they were open to the story. They didn't really get into it. They let me sort of run with it for weeks. It made me think, as I still do, that you can really do stuff if you want to do stuff. The American press, they may not be aggressive, but if you do stuff that they think is right, they will publish it. I'd like to think that's still true. I mean, it happened in Abu Ghraib, and it happened in other stories I've written. There's a lot of resistance to stories sometimes, but not in this case. It just seemed right. And anyway, soldiers had told me, finally they told me about Paul Meadlo. And as I wrote in the piece, I was in Salt Lake City at the time I heard about him and what he did and what happened. I didn't hear about crying, but I heard about his resistance and about the little boy. And I spent hours on a payphone. His name was Meadlo, and I knew he lived in Indiana. I called every major phone district, city, and got the chief operator and asked for Meadlo, finally found him. And I got the house, and I called the house in New Goshen, and I knew the next day Paul Meadlo had his leg blown off by stepping on a mine. And he kept on saying, as he was waiting for the helicopter to take him to a hospital, he kept on yelling at Calley, God has punished me and God will get you, God will get you for this. And they finally took him away. So when I called his home and I would ask, I got this woman, this old Southern voice, And I said, is Paul there? And she said, yes, which was great. And I said, how's his leg? She says, well, you know, I don't know. And I asked if I could see him. She said, yes. Ask him. She didn't know. She didn't know much about what happened. She knew something bad had happened. And I flew down there, and I went. It took me a long time to get to New Goshen, Indiana. No GPS then. I mean, I flew across country all night, but I got there by afternoon to this little rinkety-dinkety farm full of with no man around, full of chickens that were chicken coops that were broken down. But she came out to meet me, and this is one of those moments you live for as a journalist, I guess. And this woman, who really wasn't really in the world, didn't know much about what was going on. Paul hadn't told her much. She came out to meet me when I pulled in 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and I said, I told her I was a reporter, and I said, I've come to see Paul. Is he in? She said, he's in there. She said, I don't know if he'll talk to you, but he's in there. He knows you're coming. And then she said to me, this old woman, she said, in this tone of a voice, I gave them a good boy, and they sent me back a murderer. And you can go a long time in this business without having a line like that played in your head.